The member for Cowper.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Resources, Water and Northern Australia. Will the Minister inform the House about how the Morrison-McCormack government's actions in securing our strong mineral export markets is setting the foundation for our continued economic recovery from COVID-19 pandemic by creating a safer and more secure Australia? And is the Minister aware of any alternative approaches?
The Minister for Resources.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I thank the honourable member for their question? And it's Minerals Week, Mr Speaker, and we need to be out there supporting our hard-working men and women in the resources sector, and I'm sure the member for Cowper does. But why is the mineral sector so important to the member's electorate and so important to all Australians, Mr Speaker? How is it that it makes a safer and more secure Australia? Well, the reality is pretty straightforward. In the world of changing technology, Mr Speaker, as we continue to look at electrification, whether it's defence, new medical applications, smart tech, communications, it is Australia's resources sector that is providing that feedstock. Now, Mr Speaker, critical minerals, rare earths, are actually used in defence assets. An F-35 fighter, for example, contains 417 kilos of rare earths. It's used in targeting, communications and other systems. A destroyer, Mr Speaker, has nearly 2.5 tonne of rare earths. A submarine might have more than 4 tonne of rare earths. Mr Speaker, a smartphone, I'm sure there's a lot of people in here who use a smartphone, Mr Speaker, more than 40 different mine minerals and more than 20 to 40 grams of cobalt. So, Mr Speaker, the minerals sector is important for all Australians. It is important we have a strong sector in the resources sector. It's important we continue to look for opportunities, particularly for downstream processing. Now, Mr Speaker, the Minerals Council has put out a forecast on the increase for demand of the minerals sector. And we expect things like aluminium, for example, in terms of a processed product, up by 45% by 2030, the global demand for nickel to rise by 67%, and of course iron ore and all of our other staples to remain strong and continue to employ Australians right across the board, some 260,000 individuals, Mr Speaker. Now, we are intending to ensure that that pipeline continues, that we continue to have that employment opportunity. $20 million in the budget committed to the Global Resources Strategy, over $200 million exploring for the future to ensure we do have that pipeline and new projects and new mines coming on. We intend to ensure, and we have done, through the GEMI, the General Minerals Exploration Incentive, tax incentive, Mr Speaker, to make sure we are out there working hard in those regional areas, delivering new opportunities for mines and miners. But, Mr Speaker, I'm asked about alternatives. And, Mr Speaker, we saw an alternative from those opposite reported today on their approach to the resources sector. And, Mr Speaker, that particular project is likely to deliver some 6,000 jobs into the Northern Territory over the next 20 years. Some 6,000 jobs. And how do those opposite approach this? They have to put it to a vote in their caucus to decide if they support the resources sector, Mr Speaker. That is the approach of those opposite. We stand up for our sector unequivocally. We stand up for those jobs, Mr Speaker. We know, Mr Speaker, that projects like those in Narrabri, like those in the Barossa, like those in Scarborough, they don't need to be put for a vote. We support them 100%.
The Minister's